The mindset we take to approach every day has a massive impact on each of us. Often we don't take the time to reflect on that impact. One of the best ways to reshape our mindset is to focus on constant growth and improvement. In this episode, the power of a positive mindset and how we can constantly bring it to our daily lives and careers. Welcome to Meet the Author Live. I'm your host, John Saunders, founder of Forward Advisory Solutions, a coaching and consultancy firm, and the author of The Optimizer, Building and Leading a Team of Serial Innovators. My firm was built on the foundation of over 20 years as an executive distribution leader on Wall Street and a relentless focus on problem solving, collaborative innovation, and growth. The show offers you thought leadership wisdom through live conversations with the ability to answer your questions live in the chat. So to start, please drop in the chat where you're joining us from. It's always great to get a sense of where people are calling in from. And we're going to use that chat function to answer questions live with John here in about the 30-minute mark after we get to hear from him. For those that put a question in the chat, we'll select 5 of you to get John's new ACES deck of cards that he built that he had ordered for his book. So in today's episode, we'll meet author John Thompson III, who published his book, Stack Your Deck, How to Be an Ace in Business and Life, about a year ago, and has an exciting new project to announce today. His book digs into the concept of facing challenges every day head on and leveraging the power of positivity to create a life of meaning and purpose. A little bit about John. John's mission in life is to help others walk in purpose and be inspired to reach their full potential. Across a 25-year career journey leading sales and operations in prominent Fortune 100 companies, John shaped his career with purpose and intention. Starting with an electrical engineering degree from the University of Pittsburgh, he went on to earn an MBA at Penn State, a strategical sales management certificate from Harvard Division of Continuing Education, and has amassed over $1 billion in sales. With coaching certifications from the International Coaching Federation, Center for Credentializing and Education, and Gallup, he has embarked on a mission to empower and inspire others. From the corporate landscape to the helm of Team ACES, his coaching and consulting company, John not only follows his passion, but also nurtures dreams of bringing hope globally. When he's not blazing the trail, coaching the next generation of leaders, he finds joy spending time with his family, and playing around at golf and cheering for the Pittsburgh Steelers. John resides in Washington, D.C. with his wife and 2 daughters. John, great to see you. Welcome to the show.
John, thank you so much. I appreciate the introduction there, and so great to be with you and all the attendees that we've got here. So I'm a big fan of your show, and just can't say enough about the good work that you continue to do. It's funny when we do these live events, I always wonder what the pre-work and the preparation looks like leading up to it. And you mentioned that you got the book Optimizer, and I can tell you certainly optimized the process of hosting these live events. So thanks for all that preparation.
Well, you were too kind. It's great to have you on. And we've already got a few people dialing in from all over the place. BYBD from DC, Melissa all the way from Dallas, where my brother lives. I'll be down there at an event with Jose Perez in a week or two. Candy Barone, I think we saw a note from you the other day. Great to see you on here. Mr. Oscar Williams from Atlanta, Clearwater, Florida. Welcome. And Lanisha has who just put got a few awards for her book. Great to see you on here. So John, before we dive into the book, I want to touch a little bit on it. We've also got Santa Fe and Austin jumping in here. Great to see everybody all over the country here, lots of time zones. Before we get into the book, you have some amazing poetry that you put in here. What was this is a book about sort of leadership and growth and self-development. Where did the poetry idea come from?
Yeah, I always I look at it like I was an engineer in college, and so I wanted to tap into the other side of my brain from an engineering, give myself a relief. So I really got into the creative side. So really love photography, and it really started with I would take photos and then kind of write poetry that went along with the poem or with the photos. And so over the years, I've made a number of personal poetry books and made those for family members. And then, I kind of got the idea that why don't I maybe incorporate some of the poems into the book. And so it's kind of a way that I broke up the book in terms of just getting a little bit of creativity in there, as well as the gems that you need to be an ace in business and life.
I love this mindset you have, always, sort of thinking about growth and not only focusing on, we all have this we tend to favor a left or right brain sort of thinking. And I love the fact that you lean into both. I really appreciate this line. And I think it leads into this big theme of positivity that we have here. Happiness isn't what you have. Happiness is what you are. I love that line in one of your poems in the opening chapter there. And it really makes me think about you and everything I've learned about getting to know you through this journey and how positive you are. I've met few people as positive as you, John. Where's this relentless positivity come from for you?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you. I'm glad you mentioned the poetry. It's funny, when I was writing the book, I questioned if I was going to include the poems in the book, and it was probably a last minute decision to include the poems. And again, there's a bit of vulnerability that comes from exposing your works like that, exposing your words. And so the one that you mentioned, that the happiness poem, it's happiness isn't what you have, happiness is what you are. It doesn't cost a penny. You don't have to look too far. It comes from being honest when you look into the mirror. It comes from having grace, living without fear. Some people think it comes from money, but they dream of being a star. But happiness isn't what you have. Happiness is what you are. And so it really is just a reminder to me just to embrace the positivity and the energy that you have inside. And so, when you ask where did that positivity come from, when I think about it, I was raised outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Washington, PA, small town in the country. I was the only in the whole school, not just in my classroom, but in the whole school, I was the only Black kid in the school. And then my sister, it was the only in her grade as well. And so, at that time, when you look at the world, that you're different in the world, you can easily retreat to the corner and not really speak your truth and think that maybe there's something wrong with you. But my parents really gave me the idea that I was the unique one, I was the special one, and to let my light and my brilliance shine through in all that I do. And so that's really where it came from. And then, to take it a step further, my father worked in the coal mine for 38 years. And so, he worked 7 days a week so that he could put my sister, Elise Bowers, and I through college. And, at that time, you're going in the coal mine, you're going thousands of feet underground, and it's a very dark place. But he's the most positive individual that I know. And I still remember to this day, when he came home from work, I could still hear him saying, "Hey, baby," to my mother. My mom stayed at home and she took care of the house. And so he was always upbeat and exciting. So when I think about it, I'm like, you know what? If he can go to work 7 days a week, thousands of feet underground in the dark, then I can easily embrace this idea that I am the light. And so that's really what I do, is let my light shine in everything that I do.
38 years working underground. I mean, I'm a little bit claustrophobic, and that makes me feel a little edgy just thinking about that. Right. And yet he came home every day with a positive attitude and really brought that to you and your family. And you mentioned being the only African-American kid in your school. You tell an incredibly painful story at the start of your book about that. Can you share with us a little bit about that experience and how that might have shaped you a bit?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you imagine the first day of school, and you got your lunchbox packed, you've got your new outfit ready to go to school, and it's a big deal, obviously, for parents to let go of their kids to go to school. And so on the way home, the bus is arriving in front of my parents' driveway, and you hear the kids all yelling out and screaming. So the bus arrives, the doors open, and I stepped out into the warm embrace of my mother. But as I stepped off the bus, we heard the words, "Bye, little N-word." And at that moment, you take a step back, and you, as I mentioned, you recognize that you're different. And so, what my parents really had us embrace is the love that we had within our household. And so, it helped shape my life going forward. Again, recognizing that I'm the special one. There's no excuses to be in the corner. The movie Dirty Dancing, no one puts baby in the corner. So I wasn't being put in the corner, but just recognizing that I was different, and then embracing that difference to really make a name for myself and for others. That's really what I'm all about.
I mean, what a painful first day at school experience. And, many people could have taken the opposite approach, right? And kind of gone off and hid and said, "Oh, I'm different. I'm something's wrong with me," something like this, right? And sort of hid away. And you didn't do that at all. You chose to continue to focus on the light and the positivity, and bring yourself to writing this book, stack your deck. So, you're a busy guy. You've had this unbelievable run at one of the biggest companies in the world. what drove you to write this book and go through the pain and suffering of doing so? You had so many other things on your plate, and of course, a family as well.
Man, it was a fun process. No pain and suffering, man. It was fun, but no, it was it was a challenging process. And the one thing that I always say to individuals when you embark on something like this, you really have to understand your why. You really got to understand and put that why front and center. And when you put your why front and center, then the how outlines itself and lays itself out. And so my why is to help others walk in purpose, inspired to reach their full potential. And I've got a goal, lofty goal, to bring hope to millions. And I really uncovered my why. You mentioned Candy Barone. So I remember being in a leadership session with Candy Barone. It was around 2018. And we had our teammates there and we did a vision board exercise. And this was the first time that I'd ever done a vision board exercise. I had a vision for my life, but I never really took the time to articulate that vision through pictures and visuals. And so we were shoulder to shoulder with one another and had the photos and images and scissors and everything, and our creativity was running wild. And I put the vision together, and at that time I came up with this vision of this coaching company, Team Aces, and this is again 2018, a couple of years prior to actually starting the Aces organization. But I created the vision, and I remember watching a video, and the video was by one of my favorite authors now. His name is Robin Sharma. He's got books, best-selling books that he sold 50 million plus copies worldwide. A really great book that he was talking about in this video. It was called The Leader Who Had No Title. And he was talking about leadership. It's not as much about a title, but it's really reflective of your ability to serve others. And so I remember watching that video, and Robin kind of stood out to me. And I think he stood out. We kind of look alike. So I think he stood out because of that. But he stood out to me. And I remember in that session, I was just very free to speak the vision that I had for my life. And I remember as I was getting ready to get on the flight and board the flight, I got this text message from a good friend of mine named Sarah Wallenhut. And Sarah sent this text message, and she said, "Every day you inspire me. One of these days, we're going to be watching your YouTube videos." And that message just really took me back, because I was inspired by Robin, and I was also very intrigued by this vision that I had for my life. And I didn't think about YouTube videos at that point. It was years before I would ever create a YouTube channel. But just that message really helped me think about what could I do with my life and what could I do differently to drive change in my life and change for others. So that message resonated with me, and then that put me on the path to eventually creating my coaching company and then writing the book. And now Sarah sent me a message yesterday when I sent her the invite for this live, and she said, "You're doing it." And that was another message that I just made me smile, because that vision that she had, that she mentioned, is actually come to fruition. And then last but not least, John, to put a bow on this story here, I mentioned the video from Robin Sharma. And years later, when Stack Your Deck came into existence, the early praise quote that I have that's on the cover of my book is from no one other than Robin Sharma. And what Robin said is, "An insightful journey on how to define and pursue success on your own terms and live your best life." So I just thought that was just an amazing full circle moment of seeing a vision, creating the vision, and then driving change with yourself and with others.
I mean, you're lighting the chat up here, buddy. A lot of comments coming in on this one. Candy, very excited about that. She remembers the day well. A lot of love coming from your fans here, knowing your why. Such a beautiful reminder. Is this the Sarah you were referencing before? Is that the same one?
I'm sorry. I'm caught up in the comments. I'm so excited. Thank you all for joining in. I appreciate the comments. I'm sorry. What was your question, John?
Oh, is this the Sarah you were just referencing to?
Oh, Sarah. Yes. Sarah Wallenhout. Yes. Yes. My friend Sarah's on. Thank you for joining.
Nice. Great to see everybody on here. Such a fun. We even got a couple of fans from Canada here. Columbia, Maryland. I saw somebody on Canada here. They didn't have a name on it. JT and John. Must be somebody you know. From Calgary.
So we can say this at International Meet the Author. I like it.
That's right. I love it. So this concept, you envisioned this thing, you had this idea. Where did this concept come from? This idea of ACEs and tying it all together. It's such a cool framework.
Yeah. When I was younger, my favorite place to go in life was my grandmother's house, my grandparents' house. The spend the night. They lived about 30 minutes from my parents' house. And so my younger sister and I would go to spend the night there. And on the way to grandma's, we would play cards. And we were probably like 8. I was 8, maybe my sister was 6 at the time. And when you think about going and playing cards with grandma, I think you think about playing Go Fish maybe, or playing Uno, but grandma like taught us poker. And she was a hardcore poker player. And grandma was 4'11.5", and she was very particular on that half. You had to add that in, but she was larger than life. And so grandma taught us how to play poker. And on the way to her house, she would always call out, "Bring your dimes." And so we would have to bring our bag of dimes into grandma's house. And at the end of the night, grandma took no mercy and had no problem going to bed with all of our dimes. So at that moment,
tough lessons early on.
I learned a couple of lessons. Number one, I learned the importance of being competitive and how to compete. And so that was number one. Number two, I learned how to win and how to lose, which was also very important. You got to win and you got to be graceful when you're losing your dimes. But then number three, I learned the power of aces. And so to me, years later, when you were dealt an ace, you just really felt like you had an advantage. And so I still remember the feeling like when you got dealt a hand of aces. And so those aces are still bringing meaning to my life. But this time it's in the form of what I call the ACEs pillars of success. So it's your attitude, which I associate with the ace of spades. And that's all about controlling your mindset. And then connection, that's the ace of clubs. That's all about building your network. And then empowerment, that's the ace of hearts. And that's all about following your heart. And then strength, that's the ace of diamonds. And that's all about transforming your environment. So I always believe that you can't control the cards that you're dealt. I wish I could. I wish I could control and get a hand of aces every day. But you can control how you play the game. And so that's really what I focus on within the book. And so how do you rearrange the cards you're dealt and stack the deck in your favor?
What I particularly love about that story, John, is I actually don't think you'd like to get aces dealt to you every time. I think you enjoy the struggle. I think you enjoy the challenge because the growth and the learning experience that it offers you. That's my take on you, my friend.
That's, what I love to quote Winston Churchill. He says, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts." And so it's all about how do you persevere in the face of those challenges and adversity. I look at it as you take the adversity like vitamins and allow it to build you up. And so you're right. I love making a hand with that 3 of clubs or 4 of clubs, and then you win the game and you won it because you were able to stack the deck in your favor. So that's a great observation.
So good. And so, right. I love that. And, this growth mindset that you've always had. But, speaking of the book, how do you see this? How should people read it? Is there a good way to consume it? Should they read it end to end, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah. So, I was very mindful of how individuals consume it. I'm a big fan of reading. I believe that leaders are readers. And so I had the goal of myself I read a book a month. I listen to a book a month, and I'm constantly on this quest for information and knowledge. And so when I created the book, I wanted the book to be easy to consume for individuals. And so Nelson Mandela says, a vision without action is just a dream. And so I created the book to help you identify and define your vision and follow your vision in life, but then how take the action to drive and bring that dream into reality. And so the book has 4 sections that align to the aces playing cards. As I mentioned, the attitude, ace of spades, connection, ace of clubs, empowerment, ace of hearts, and then strength, ace of diamonds. So that's the overall structure. And there's chapters in each of there's 3 chapters in each of the pillars. And then the last pillar is called pulling all together, playing your cards right. And this tells you how you can then play your cards right. And then at the end of each chapter, there's a component of the book. It's called Stack Your Deck that has 3 questions. So these are 3 questions that you can reflect on that will help you stack your deck. And then in addition to the questions, if you go to my website, stackyourdeckbook.com/resources, there are resources there available to help you further integrate the themes of the book. And so it's really great to be working. What I'm seeing is individuals that have book clubs. It's good for corporate organizations. It's good for, because it's meant for reflection and it's meant for discussion that ultimately helps you be your best in business and life.
That is awesome. And I did just drop your link in the chat if people want to click on that and take a look at it, stackyourdeckbook.com. But so many, such a great thought, such a great amount of thought you put into putting this thing together so people can kind of use it as not only a fascinating and book filled with insights on how to sort of read from end to end, but also sort of compartmentalize it and think about areas they want to focus on and do some learning right then and there. That's awesome. Let's keep rolling here. You have burnout is a topic you talk about in the book and something you've maybe fortunately or unfortunately have your own experience with. What happened for you with burnout?
Yeah, look, it's it's a condition. Obviously, unfortunately, many of us are familiar with. One of the stats that I included in the book was, there's a survey done by Indeed.com in 2021 where they assessed 1,500 employees, and 52% of those individuals had experienced burnout in the year, and that's up from 43% pre-pandemic. And we know those rates are continuing to rise. And so, I was faced with burnout early in my career. So it was my second year in corporate America. I was, incredibly active. I was on a leadership program within my organization. I was in grad school in the evenings, and I was taking a full course load of grad classes. So I was technically considered a full-time grad student as well as a employee full-time work. And then, I was president of a leadership organization, the ERG, within my company. I was highly active in the community. And, as my mother would say, Johnny, you're doing too much. And so what I recognized was all the cards came crashing down at once, and I experienced burnout and experienced shortness of breath, and, really had trouble concentrating, disoriented, and had to take a 6-month leave of absence from work. And so at the time, I didn't know what was going on with me, and it wasn't like burnout was really defined at that time. And, it really took its toll on me. I spent a couple of weeks in a psychiatric ward, and that was something that my mother still to this day defines as her toughest moment, which was checking me into the psych ward. And so to be able to go through that, as I look back on it, I'm thankful for the experience, because it really helped me understand how I needed to position myself going forward. And so what I recognized at that time, I was so over-indexed in my career that I really wasn't taking time for myself. And so I love this idea, and I embrace it to this day, which is put your own oxygen mask on first. And so you've got to take care of yourself. And that's what I recognize. So recently did a corporate workshop for an organization called Innovis, and I talked to them about pursuing well-being across 5 areas, which I align with pillars that the organization Gallup has created in their book called Well-Being at Work, which is your career, social, physical, financial, and community. So making sure that you're aligned across those 5 pillars is key to you having great and a balance in your life. And so at that time, I was heavily focused on my career, wasn't as focused on my health, my fitness, and my nutrition. So that's really where I drove change within me way back to that time. And then it really helped how I showed up to this day, which I think is important.
I mean, every time I hear more of your stories or read more of them, I sort of sit here in disbelief and think about the challenges, the obstacles that have stood in your way, and how you've just persevered and hit these really low points here, like getting admitted to a psych ward. I cannot even fathom what that must have been like. And yet here you are, always positive, always trying to focus on, how do we get better here? And it's just a never-ending theme in your life, which I love to hear. Clearly a very vulnerable story you just shared, but as you research this book, what did you find about pursuing success and happiness, and how did vulnerability play a part there?
Yeah, well, look, see, speaking of, vulnerability, you mentioned some of the challenges that we experience, but I truly believe that what we do in our valley determines the height of our peak. And so the challenges that we face when we're going through those, our next step helps us get out of those challenges. And then you just continue to take those positive steps and move forward. And then ultimately you learn from those challenging times. And so that's really what I look at. So, one of the aces that I interviewed in the book, Tokes Oyolola, he talks about that during these challenges times, they give us a gift. We just have to take the time to learn from those gifts, and later in life, you'll be able to cash in those gems that you learn. So as I think about vulnerability and coming up with this challenging time, it really was a setback, but it was a setup, and it helped me continue to grow. And what I learned about happiness for the book, and I love, when I was doing the research for the book, it's, I always say the teacher learns the most. So one of the things I learned about happiness, it comes from us from a book called The Happiness Advantage. And they say that 90% of our long-term happiness is not based on events that happen to us, but it's how our brain processes those events that happen to us. And so that's what's key. That's why, life is 10% what happens, 90% how you react to it. So, when I talked about grandma, so now let me give a shout out to grandpa. So grandpa had this theme, and I was tried out for the baseball team in high school 3 times, freshman, sophomore, junior year, got cut every time. My junior year, I tried out, and they actually promoted me to try out for the varsity team. I played second base, scooping up all the balls. I was leadoff batter, hitting all the balls, but I still got cut from the team. And I thought, because I'm trying out for the senior team, the varsity team, I would at least make the JV team, but I got cut. And, my grandfather wrote me a letter, and I still have to this day. And he said in the letter, I can make a success of my life as I see it or as the world sees it. But success as I see it is the only worthwhile goal to pursue. And so what he really helped me understand is defining success on my terms and what brings me joy. So I've learned to define success through the journey. And I think so many of us get challenged where, if I looked at success as making the baseball team, then maybe I would feel a failure. But if I looked at success as showing up each year and giving my best and giving my all and doing all that I couldn't control the outcome. So you got to detach from the outcome. So that's really what I learned about success and pursuing success. Years later, I've been passed over for promotions in corporate that you were the right individual for that role, but you're passed over. But you've got to define success not as do I get the role or do I not get the role, but am I showing up each day and am I giving my all each day? And what am I learning through the process, and recognizing that growth and success is a process.
And focus on what you can control, right? And so many times, particularly with the career circumstances, there's so many factors that can be at play behind the scenes that you never even hear about, right? That might be determining it for one reason or another. And so I love that shifting of the mindset to what do I bring to the table each day? How do I decide what works for me and how I define success? Such a powerful, powerful thought. Well, you're really lighting up the chat here with a lot of folks here. BYBD, loving the stories here. Ladisha, she's really enjoying your story here. Our pain is not in vain. Love that. There's one other I didn't put up here yet. Where there was a really. Oh, here it is. The 2 Johns, amazing and optimizing, helping us stack our deck. Love that. Thanks, Ladisha.
Let's go. I like that.
Right?
Lanisha. Yes, me power. That's what we're demonstrating.
And we've got a few more questions here, and then we're going to open up the audience questions. So please do start throwing those in the chat, and we'll get to those in just a couple of minutes here. And I do want to drop John's LinkedIn chat in here because I know he'd like to connect with folks on LinkedIn. So I'm dropping his link in there if you want to connect with him on LinkedIn, and I'll put the name for it up there as well. Let's keep rolling here, buddy. So author journey. What sort of surprised you about it? What's been memorable about it so far?
There's so many memorable moments. As I look back to 2023, it was the single greatest year of my life. And as I think about it, we defined 23 with my team. We called it the year of greatness. And that's because Michael Jordan is 23. And so it's a year of greatness for in honor of Michael Jordan. And so, my book came out in January, and, there's so many ups and downs, and, it wasn't all sunshine and roses in 2023. And so, but what I recognized as I look back on that year, it's the journey that I loved. And while, you wish it could be all highs, like John, you had mentioned earlier, I don't think that you want all aces, right? You don't want to be dealt all aces. You want those challenging times, because that's when you're growing. That's when you're learning. That's when you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. So I would say the greatest moment that I had, it had to have been the launch event that I did in Washington, D.C. And that was in April. And I'll say that because, I did a pre-sale campaign for this book. And for those that are considering writing a book, I highly recommend the program that I went through and so many others that are on this call. It's called Manuscripts. It's a great program. Their motto is never write alone. It's a structured program, and they give you resources from lectures on how to write the book, how to incorporate different components of book writing, to the editors, to the cover design team, everything that you can put into a book. They've helped thousands of authors. So love that program. But I went through this pre-sale campaign. And one of the statistics that I find very interesting is that the average book in the lifetime of the book only sells about 250 copies. And so when you think about it, there's so many books that are out there. So maybe it does make sense. But obviously I'm looking to sell more than 250 copies in a lifetime of the book. But I did a 30-day pre-sale campaign, and we had the opportunity to either fund the production of the book ourselves, which I was very tempted to do, or I could actually go through this pre-sale campaign, which that entailed putting myself out there and getting crowdsourced funding for the book, which is selling books in advance. And so I had really never publicly posted much on LinkedIn. I just had an Instagram page for family. So I knew that that was going to be outside of my comfort zone to create this pre-sale campaign. And fortunately, I did that. I went through that route. It stretched me, but I was able to sell 350 copies of the book in a 30-day time frame. And so I was blown away by the amount of outpouring of love and support from the backers, many of who are on this call today. And so we had a celebration in April, and I was so excited. We were at this restaurant called Busboys and Poets in DC to see individuals that I hadn't seen in years. An individual, Ezric MacArthur, that just sent me a note, John, congratulations and good luck on the event today. Like those individuals. Anthony Horton came from Philly. So individuals like that are just so appreciative of. But I remember that day, it poured down rain. I mean, it was a monsoon. And, and I know they say April showers bring May flowers. I mean, it was, talk about April showers. But what stood out to me was so many individuals braved the storm to come out and be a part of that special day. And so I just love that day in particular. And I wish I could bottle it up, but I'm so grateful that individuals are still continuing to support and help create momentum for this ACES movement.
More obstacles potentially thrown in front of you there, right? With the rainstorm, easily people could have stayed home. And yet, thanks to your passion, your mission, your drive, your positivity, people were drawn to that and it showed up. That is awesome. I see Anthony put a great line in here for you. This message was so needed for everyone to internalize and all. Thank you for jumping on there, Anthony. And lots of people jumping on the chat here. This is great. We'll get to those in a couple minutes. A couple more questions here, and do please drop them in the chat. We'll keep rolling. John, thinking about your high level of energy from writing the book, demanding corporate job, running this coaching and consulting business, what has been the key to keeping this energy up for you? Because sometimes I look at you and I think about your story. I get tired.
Green tea. It's all about the green tea. So when I think about the energy, and I do believe that it is a mindset, and embracing these ACES principles helps. I think understanding and knowing your why, it helps. I still have my vision board in front of me that I created in 2018. I still believe in that vision board that I've created for my life. And so that helps you with your energy. But I would say the silver bullet for me, there were two chapters that were tough to write in my book. The first one was around burnout, and I hit that early on, and I included obviously that story there that I shared earlier. And that was a challenging chapter to write. The other chapter that was challenging because it was so heartfelt, which was the chapter where I talked about being I'm now 5 years, no alcohol. And so that to me was the single best decision that I could have made. And so as I look back to that time in 2018, it really just started with, I was going to take a break from drinking. And it wasn't like I was a heavy drinker, but I still got it in. I still would, drink my Tito's or drink Heineken. I enjoyed those drinks. And what I recognized was being in sales, you're constantly out with clients, with teammates, and whether you're on the train or on the plane. And so what I recognized was alcohol was beginning to consume me. And then the fun that I was having in the evenings was then challenged the next day because you didn't have the energy to do what you wanted to do, right? And so I took the break, and then that 1 week turned into 2 weeks, turned into 3 weeks, and then it's ultimately been 5 years. And when I think about that, I quit drinking in 2018. In 2019, I got certified as a Gallup strengths coach. 2020, I created my coaching company, Team Aces. 21, ICF certification. 22, started writing Stack Your Deck. 23, it was released. And so I could not have had the energy to do the full-time and work full-time and then create the coaching company and then bring all this goodness into the world if it weren't for me taking a break from alcohol and then continuing to, I'll call it, live the good life.
And find that clarity in life and the energy. I love that. What a powerful, powerful story. And speaking of working hard and continuing this journey, you have a new project that you just put out. What's that one?
Yeah, John. And, maybe to piggyback off that comment on clarity, it is important. Clarity is so key. And so, in that chapter that I talk about my journey through quitting drinking, I call it the 4 C's. And it was creativity, consistency, clarity, and confidence. And those 4 C's were so critical to me driving the output that was so needed. So, that's how you get the energy and then, continuing to lean into your strengths. And that's really what it's all about. And so, with that, you said the big announcement. There is a big announcement. So, I mentioned the book came out in 23, and now 2024, you'll get a chance to hear me coming through your airways with the audiobook. So the audiobook is officially released. It's on Amazon, and that's exciting to venture through that project as well. So I always believe audiobooks are a conversation with the author, and especially when you get a chance to hear the audiobook in the author's own words, which that's the case with this book. So it's in my words. I hope you get a chance to check it out, and love to bring that into the world.
That is amazing, and a lot more work than people think it is. I know I did an audiobook as well, and it shocked me how much work it took to get that done. I just thought I'd sit down and read my book for a few hours, and man, it took like 5 times as long as it did. Did you have a similar?
Right? You think you just read like this? This is fine. I know how to read. I can read it, and and they're like, no, you don't just read a book, you perform it. So you've got to get it to where it's dynamic and it's engaging. And so I'm really proud of it. And I listened to audiobooks over the years. I, really love audiobooks like, Matthew McConaughey's Green Light book is really good. So I listened to those, and they gave me, they inspired me. Robin Sharma's The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, very good. And so those books inspired me to, allow my words to come through as well.
And I think we're going to give away a few audiobooks today as well. Is that right?
Yeah. So we got a competition here. So like competition. I know my grandma would like this competition as well. But yeah. So for those that following this session, if you share this the replay of this out to your audience, out to LinkedIn, if you share it with a comment and tag me, then we're going to select 5 individuals to receive a free copy of the audiobook. So those of you that like the session today, if you share it and then tag me, we'll put you into a drawing for a free copy of the audiobook. And then, John, I know that we also had the competition here going with the custom Stack Your Deck playing cards as well. So my friend Hannah Pryor, she's got a really great book, Good Awkward, and she gave me the idea of creating these custom Aces playing cards. So they're your very own Stack Your Deck playing cards. And so for those that are making comments in and adding questions into the chat, we're going to select 5 individuals that are going to receive these custom playing cards. And I'm thinking now, John, if I showed up at grandma's house with these Stack Your Deck playing cards, I would be pretty hyped. I'd throw them down on the ground. Take that, grandma.
Many times. I love that. And so, yeah, when you do make that post, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to leave a comment about what resonated with you about the story. There's so many pieces of it that resonate with me, but be sure to share what resonated with you about that when you make that post out there. John, thank you. 2 more questions. We'll get to the audience questions here. Goals for the book.
I just really want to continue working with individuals and organizations to help bring meaning into their organization, to help build high performing teams. That's really what I pride myself on, is building, creating high performing teams. And so I'm incredibly grateful for organizations like Merck, William Grant and Sons, Novus, the International Coaching Federation, Thought Leadership Institute, National Sales Network, those organizations that I've worked with to incorporate the themes from this book into their organizations. Individuals, I'm incredibly grateful for those that are looking for meaning in their life, or maybe looking for how to make a mark in the world. So those are the goals that I have for the book. So continue to just spread goodness, spread the ACEs movement into the world, and continue to drive change within ourselves and then change for others.
Never-ending inspiration you have, my friend. And this power of positivity that, right, you got from your dad early on, who literally worked in the dark. It's just so mind-boggling to me to think about that for 38 years, and yet always sought the light, right? That was many years ago you got that inspiration. How do you maintain that positivity today? How do you keep leaning into that light?
Yeah, look, what I talk about in connection is, a Jim Rohn's quote, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so I truly believe that you've got to get yourself a good circle of individuals. Grandpa, I mentioned again, wise words from Grandpa. He used to write me a note when he would send gifts he'd send articles to my house. And at the end of every note, he would say, "I love you, buddy, and choose your friends wisely." And so he'd always say that. And so I'm very particular in who I surround myself with. And so, one of the things that I really loved about this book was being able to interview other ACEs for the book. So it wasn't just about me and what my success has looked like over the years and what I've learned, but other ACEs that I admire, that I look at, that are within my circle. So individuals that I saw that are on the call, from Tokes Oyalola. We tell the story of him going from IT consulting, creating his own IT company, to a land development organization, to individuals like Minna Brown, who she was the coach that certified me through her company called Positive Coaching, to Deanna Moffat was a part of the manuscripts program, has a great book called The Rewrite, Change Your Life One Story at a Time. Individuals like Saeed Abdul Rahim. Saeed went from being a Marine to then working in the classroom as a physics teacher, to then later in life created his own yoga studio, and now he's touring as a comedian. And so talk about a shift and a transformation. Individuals like Brandon Bowers, who has a long journey in corporate America, and he talks about his experience. Now he's an executive leader with Amazon. He talks about his experience coaching teams, baseball teams, and that was great. Brian Durr is a retired captain in the Coast Guard. His story is great to hear. And then Wayna is a musician, Grammy-nominated musician, and she was actually just at the Grammy Awards a couple of weeks ago. And one of the accomplishments, she was instrumental in bringing a new category to the Grammys, which is called Best Song for Social Change. And so all these individuals I look at that are in my circle, which are so impactful. But then I also continue with a connection with individuals. So got text groups that I'm a part of where we continue to share positive messages. And then most recently, I got in this app. It's called Marco Polo. And you mentioned hashtag BYBD. That's from a good friend of mine, Cootie Mack. And that's Be Your Best Daily. And he's got a group called the Super Squad. And so we just share messages and videos every morning about the health journey that we're on and continue to inspire one another. So again, it's all around surrounding yourself with the right individuals and then continuing to just breed positivity with one another.
So not only just dream about being positive and, sort of think about it, but actually creating accountability for yourself with this group. Be Your Best Daily. I like that acronym. Well done. I love that one. So many comments coming in the chat here, and so much celebration here of you and the great work you do. Definitely drop any questions you have in the chat here, and we'll get to those in just a second here. But want to just share some of the great comments you have coming in here, buddy. From Monroe, great words of inspiration, no matter the circumstances. Blessed to know you. Full throttle ahead, or full throttle on motivation. Thomas Roberts jumping in here. Oh, JT is the man. I agree with you there, Thomas. No doubt about it. Arthur jumping on here. Got another LinkedIn user. I guess we can't see all the names on there. Cultivate a network of individuals who both mirror your aspirations and push your growth. Your connections shape your path to success. What a great message there. So many powerful messages here and such great support. If you do have questions, by all means, do throw them in here, and we're happy to get them answered. Otherwise, we can jump over the rapid fire question here, and let's see how we're doing on time. We can head over there here pretty quick if you'd like. One question I have for you is, what was your inspiration? I know in chapter 7 in the book, you talk about these 3 great quotes. And I have to tell you, when I read them, like, having children myself, it kind of made me want to tear up a little bit, buddy. What are the 3 quotes you share with your daughters every night before they go to bed? I think it's just beautiful.
Yeah. Every night before bed, I tell them 3 things. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. Whatever you are, be a good one and never give up. And then always remember that Daddy loves you. And so we say it together. And, and then my youngest daughter, Naomi, she's, 7, or she was 7 at the time when she created a vision board. She's now 10, but she created a vision board. And at the bottom of her vision board, she wrote the affirmation, I am strong, powerful, creative, and cool. And so for those of you that know Naomi, you would say that is who she is, but she repeats that affirmation every night before bed as well. And so again, it was just a way for us all to level set and just head off into the evening after we say our prayers to, just go off with sweet dreams. So that's really what it's all about.
What a beautiful message. A couple of notes I think I missed throwing up here. UNC show ROC reality. I'm not sure what that is, but how we define success.
That's Syed Abdul Rahim. We just talked about you. Oh. That's my buddy there.
I love this note he put here. How we define success is an important concept because we can evaluate our true progress. Yeah, I love this book. So do I, buddy. All right, let's jump over to the rapid fire questions. John, you ready to dive in there, pal? Yeah.
Hey, let's fire them. Let's be rapid, John.
All right. Favorite thing to cook?
Favorite thing to cook? PB&J. Does that count? Look. That's my favorite food. And the first line of my book, it says, you can't see the label on the jelly jar when you're inside the jam. And so I remember when my oldest daughter, Soliana, when she read the book, as soon as she read that first line, she's like, only Daddy would come up with how to incorporate PB&J into his book, because I eat PB&J every day for lunch. So that's the favorite thing to cook.
Nice. Let's jump back for 1 second. I see Stephanie just threw a question here that might be a fun one to get to. Which leader most greatly influenced your mindset, John, and why?
Which leader most influenced my mindset? Well, I would say it really greatly comes from at home, from my parents, and just having the strong attitude and really embracing positivity. But I do really respect leaders like, Robin Sharma, who's naturally an individual that I reached out for my early praise activity. I've been following the work of Dr. Willie Jolly as well, and he gave me an early praise quote. So those are leaders that have really helped me continue to put my best foot forward every day. Dr. Willie Jolly has a really great book. It's called Your Setback is a Setup for a Comeback. And so again, just having that mindset that, being a possibility thinker. And then I really, really appreciate and love Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer. And so for those of you that are familiar with his work, I would encourage you. There's a really great movie on YouTube. It was Dr. Wayne Dyer's gift to the world, but it's called The Shift. And it's a free movie, but that movie is transformational. So I would say those individuals are key to where I am and who I am.
Very nice. Very nice. We got kind of a long one here from Mignon, but let's give this one a tackle here. Write many self-help books about positivity, motivation, and success in the corporate settings, offer valuable insights and strategies. However, the journey toward achieving these goals can often be challenging and filled with setbacks, as you've certainly experienced. How do you suggest readers maintain a positive mindset and stay motivated, especially when they're faced with obstacles or failures in the corporate setup, corporate endeavor?
I think, Mignon, thanks for the question and thanks for tuning in. I know you're on the West Coast and it's early over there, so I appreciate you tuning in and asking this question. And, when I think about it, it really is a mindset. And if you have the mindset, look, I my friends and I, we have this thought of can't stop, won't stop. So we're going to continue to move forward despite the challenges and adversity. And I mentioned it early, the adversity, you take it like vitamins, allow it to build you up, so that you can continue to go forward. And so that's the mindset. I recognize that no one can stop you from reaching your true destiny. Now, the problem is, and the challenge is, and Oprah Winfrey says this, is that many of us don't know what we want in life. So that's the key. You've got to understand and know what you want in life. But then once you know what you want in life and then understand the why behind why you want it, then you can go forward and no one can keep you knock you off track. And individuals may think they're in control, but there's only one person that's in control. That's it. The man upstairs, that's the only individual that's in control. So you keep moving forward, having the faith, taking step forwards, and don't allow those setbacks to knock you off track.
Powerful, buddy. Powerful. Candy agrees. And so does Mignon. Thank you for that. All right, let's jump back to the rapid fire questions here and we'll wrap this up. So first, thank you for putting those questions and comments in there, Mignon and Candy and everybody else. John, first concert you went to?
Crisscross will make you jump.
Daddy Mac will also make you jump, as I recall.
Hey, that's right. And with my clothes on, with my jeans on backwards. So, yeah.
2001, right? They were early 2000. Last photo on your phone.
You must have been there too, John, with your clothes on backwards.
I was. Last photo on your phone.
Last photo. For those that know me, know that I love photos. I'm always taking pictures. Okay. All right. So I do a quote of the day every day, and it's a quote of the day that comes to my phone. Today's quote was especially meaningful, so I took a screenshot of it, but it's always concentrate on how far you have come rather than how far you have left to go. The difference is how easy it seems will amaze you. Heidi Johnson. And so what stood out to me about that, concentrate on how far you have come rather than how far you have to go. Because when we're climbing, oftentimes when we stop climbing, it's not because we're tired. We stop climbing because the journey ahead in the mountain seems so far away. And so what it reminded me of is don't look up and worry about where you're going as much as recognize how far you've come and then just keep moving forward. So that's the last photo.
That is powerful. I'm going to throw mine out there because today is my sister Kim's birthday. I won't say how old she is. 25, I think. I forget.
All right. Happy birthday, Kim.
Maybe a little older, but I got a pop-up from Apple with like this collection of photos from her. So well done, Apple. Let's keep rolling. John, what's something you own you really need to get rid of?
So I probably a lot because I call myself an archivist, but my wife calls me a pack rat. I like taking information in. I love information, right? And so I've got this. I know what my wife would say. I've got this life-size cutout of Prince. He's my favorite musician, and it's been with me since my college days. I got it at Sam Goody. It was in my dorm room in college, and it's traveled all around with me. And at this point, it's here, and I know my wife would say we need to get rid of that. But at this point, Prince he's a member of the family, so can't get rid of that, John.
I love that. Keep Prince. Most audacious goal for your book, and we've got a few added rapid fire questions in the chat I'll try to get to as well. But most audacious goal for the book, John.
Yeah. So my goal with the book, I mentioned on the vision board, is to bring hope to millions, and that's a daunting goal. But what I recognize is bringing hope to millions starts with one genuine interaction, one reader, and one individual, one connection at a time. And so while it's an audacious goal to bring hope to millions, it starts with one interaction at a time. And so I'm looking forward to just continuing to get this book out there into the world. Now, I would have a goal to grace the stages of a TED event in the future. So there's a goal. Continuing on the media tours, I was blessed to be on the Griot with Mark Lamont Hill months ago, but continuing to spread word through individuals in media that I respect, like, Tamron Hall. I'm in the Tam fam, the Today Show. So just putting it out there, those things I know are going to come. But again, it's all about, in order to change the world, it starts with one individual and one interaction at a time.
Check out Allison Hernandez. She was on the show a while ago and was on Tamron Hall not long after. Coincidence? I don't know. Just putting it out there.
I saw her episode. Awesomeness.
Looks like Maurice wants your Prince paraphernalia here, buddy. So get it in the mail.
Don't tell my wife, because she will absolutely send that out of the house. So we got to hide that one.
John, how would you describe this writing journey in 5 words, buddy?
attitude, connection, empowerment, strength, and elevation. And it's easy to say the 4 pillars because I've lived those every day. And they've been a key part, obviously, of the book. But the elevation part is, it's a really good rhyme from the hip hop pioneer Rakim. And he said, constant elevation leads to expansion. And what that means is when you elevate yourself, when you change your environment, that helps you take in new information and you get on a different level and your mind expands. And once it expands, it can never go back to its original shape. So that's what I hope to do through the words of this book, is to help individuals elevate to the top of their game.
Unbelievable. So many great and powerful messages you have throughout, such inspiration and a message of hope, and not just hope, but hey, there is a better way, and it's not that far out of reach. You just need to really change your habits, your mindsets that you might have out there in many ways. But John, closing thoughts for our listeners here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, I would just say, first of all, thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate the energy that you all fed into the chat, and thank you for showing up, each one of you. I greatly appreciate it. And I would just say that, as I mentioned, it's not about the cards we're dealt. It's about how we play our hand. And I believe that each one of us can rearrange the cards that we're dealt and stack the deck in our favor. And John, you mentioned poetry at the top of the call. And one of the poems that I wrote that I include in the book, and it's a poem which is about how we can all be free. And it's a call to action to individuals when they read the book. And I'll share that poem with you all. And the poem says, all throughout the years, I've been comfortable with silence. Don't ruffle any feathers and don't speak on the violence. We were always taught that one day will be brighter, but what if I'm the one who holds on to the lighter? It's time to spark the flame that leads to the action. Change will result, and then comes the traction. That someday is now, that someone is we. Answer the call and set the world free. So that's what it's all about. So I would encourage others, be free, be the light, be the change, and elevate to the top of your game.
Powerful words, my friend. Such a great message you have. Never-ending source of inspiration. So many challenges you've faced in life and found a way to overcome them with this incredible mindset and positive attitude that you bring. Don't forget, everybody, for the first 5 people to go out and share this event and share some thoughts about it on LinkedIn or Instagram, wherever you like to put your content. John will get you there'll be a group of you that get a free copy of his audiobook. John, I want to say thanks to you for sharing your story with us and Meet the Author Live audience, and really inspiring us and letting us know that resilience is a thing. We can find it. We just have to do a bit of shifting on our own end and just staying ever positive. But thank you so much for being a part of the show here.
John, it was my pleasure. So let's close out, John. Ready? You going to follow me? Attitude. Connection. Empowerment. Strength. Go Team Aces.
Go Team Aces. Unbelievable message. Never-ending positivity. Thanks again for joining us. Thanks to our listeners for joining this episode of Meet the Author Live. Definitely go out and get a copy of John's book, Stack Your Deck, How to Be an Ace in Business and Life, either the paperback or now the audiobook, which just came out, wherever you buy books online, or go to stackyourdeckbook.com. Connect with me at JCS Optimizer on LinkedIn or Instagram to check out other upcoming live episodes. Thanks again for joining us, everybody. I'm your host, John Saunders. Keep moving forward.